Hey guys. Alright, so let's get rolling on today. First of all, hopefully you guys have a great weekend this weekend. I know I'm looking forward to the 3-day weekend and with back to school night next week, going to be pretty busy next week and very short week. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. So let's go ahead and get rolling on this. I know that I'm really looking forward to getting out of here so that I can go spend some time with my family for the weekend. So, all right, guys. So we're going to be going into linear equations, linear functions, that type of stuff. So we're going to start with just some basic function and tables problems, and we're going to go from there. Right now, we are looking at um, uh, our objective is going to be that students will be able to complete their 10 question worksheet with at least 80% accuracy, and I will have that for you guys on Monday. So, looking at our definitions for this unit, we have what is called a relation. We have the domain, the range, functions, inputs, and outputs. Okay. Um, so I'm expecting that you have these written down and ready to go by Monday when you come in with your notes. And I'm probably going to throw out a little 2 or 3 second, or excuse me, 2 or 3 question quiz, maybe asking about some of the definitions and such for that. So just be ready for that come Monday or Tuesday, excuse me. So example number 1. All right, this is what we're going to call function notation, the f of t. And what that means is that this is a function in terms of t. Okay, for example, if I was to rewrite that as f of x, then it would be 2 times x squared plus 5. Okay. Something else that you need to be made aware of is that f of x and y are actually interchangeable. You can use them interchangeably. And so I could say that y equals 2x squared plus 5 as well. This is just what we call function notation. And we're going to be using function notation quite regularly in this class when we're dealing with some of the stuff that we're going to be looking at. So just be aware of that. Okay. So now, I'm going to erase this real quick so I got a little bit more space to work. So when we look at function notation and just how to do these problems, the one thing you need to look at is going to be that f of t equals 2t squared plus 5. I want you to find f of negative 2. Well, when you look at this, I'm hoping anyways, that you noticed that this t was replaced with negative 2. So since the t was replaced with negative 2 here, we're also going to replace it here. So to find f of negative 2, that's going to be 2 times where the t is. I'm going to replace with the negative 2 squared plus 5. And now you're just going to simplify. So you've got f of negative 2 equals 2 times negative 2 squared is 4 plus 5. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 5, giving you f of negative 2 equals 13. Okay? So, if you're given a function that is in function notation and you are asked to find f of a given number,
Carlos and Tunis, please meet your
then
ride.
sorry, there's a couple announcements being made. So if you have that, then that is when you're going to go ahead and you are going to just plug that number in and simplify, and then you should be done at that point. Okay? So now let's go ahead and let's look at number 2. Okay? This is going to take us into a couple more of our definitions. And now we're going to be looking at what is called the domain and the range of a function. And I'm hoping, based on definitions and what I asked you to look up for this weekend, that you now have the domain and the range of a function, and or at least you know what they are, and you're ready to do these problems. Okay, so the domain of a function are going to be your inputs, or your x values in the case of a linear function, and your range, or your outputs, are going to be your y values. Okay, so this would be like saying you have f of x equals 2x plus 1. Find f of 0, f of 3, and f of 5. Okay, so you're finding each one of these. Now these are your x values, just like they were in the last problem. So you're going to use the same idea that we used with the last problem, and you're going to actually just plug them in and simplify. So for f of 0, I'm going to say that f of 0 equals 2 times 0 plus 1. And now I'm going to simplify that, and I get 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1, giving me that f of 0 is 1. f of 3. f of 3 equals 2 times 3 plus 1. That's 6 plus 1, giving me that f of 3 equals 7. And then you have f of 5 equals 2 times 5 plus 1, giving me that f of 5 equals 10 plus 1, giving me f of 5 equals 11. Okay? Now, if we look at what we have now, okay, this is what we call, right here, set notation. Okay? And we know this is going to be our domain. Well, now we just found our ranges, so we're going to rewrite them in set notation, and you rewrite them in numerical order, smallest to largest. And here's our answer. Okay. Now, again, we just used domain, we used range. I also mentioned input and output. I also mentioned a few other things. So make sure you guys are paying attention to what I'm saying, so that you guys can figure out how to do this stuff. Okay? And you see how the terminology fits. Alright? So, now we're going to look at a table. We have a function, we have domain, we have range, we have several different things here that we've already talked about. And now we're going to kind of put them all together a little bit here, and we're going to see how good you guys are with putting them together. Okay? So, given the function, fill in the domain and the range on the, well, I forgot the word on the table. Okay? So, we have f of x equals 1/2 x minus 3. Okay? And I'm telling you that for this first box, the domain is 5. So the domain, again, is our x value. It's our input. Our range is our y value, or our output. So if I input 5 for x, let me fix that. F simplify, I get 1/2 times 5 minus 3. 1/2 times 5 is going to be 5 over 2 minus 3. Well, I'm hoping that you guys know how to add and subtract fractions. That's the hope. Matter of fact, I'm trusting that you do. So I'm going to put this over 1. I need to get a common denominator. So I'm going to put times 2 over 2. This gives me 5 over 2 minus 6 over 2, which says that f of 5 is negative 1 over 2, giving me a range of negative 1/2. Okay? And this is how you pretty much fill in your table. Now, there are going to be a few that are going to be slightly different because you see some input values, but there are a few that are actually output values. So you just got to kind of know how to use them correctly. Okay? So, I see, matter of fact, my next one is an output value. Alright? So now, my output is where f of x is. So that's going to be 2 equals 1/2 x minus, not plus, minus 3. Now when we do it this way, we're solving, okay? We're not actually just given a number that we plug it in and just simplify. We actually have to do some solving now, okay? So when we solve a linear equation, you do what is basically, everybody should know what PEMDAS is. My easy way of thinking it, at least in my brain, is that you're going to do reverse PEMDAS, okay? So you just basically get rid of everything in reverse order. So, first thing I want to do, if I was simplifying, I would do multiplication first, then subtraction. So when I'm solving, I'm going to get rid of subtraction first, then I will get rid of multiplication. So I get rid of subtraction by doing the opposite operation, so I'm adding 3 to both sides. This gives me 5 equals 1/2 x. Okay? Now, one phrase that you are going to very quickly learn in my class is this. Multiplying by a fraction is the same thing as dividing by the denominator. Or, the other way that it can be said is dividing by a number is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So, instead of multiplying by 1/2, I am going to divide by 1/2, or I'm going to multiply by 2. Whatever I do to one side, I must also do to the other. So let's look at this real quick. 1/2 times 2. Anytime you multiply numbers, you have to make them both the same. So I had to make both of them fractions. So I put 2 over 1 because it makes it a fraction, but it doesn't change the value of 2. And now I multiply straight across. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2, giving me 2 divided by 2 is 1. So this is going to cancel and leave me with 10 equals 1 times x, which is just x, leaving me with that x equals 10. Okay? Now, your homework for this next week is, and this is going to be your warm-up, I'm going to choose 3 students. One student needs to do A, find the value of A. One student is going to need to find the value of B and C. And one student is going to need to find the value of D. Okay? So B and C, right here, I don't give you numbers. So you can pick a number for the domain and find out the number for the range, or you can pick a number for the range and find out a value for the domain. That is up to you, okay? But you're going to use the same techniques that we just used just now. So, Your warm-up come Monday is going to be to give me the values of A, the value of B, C, and D. All right. Okay, guys, that is all of our notes. Make sure you have these done come Monday. We're going to be working on this a little bit together in the class, as well as we're doing a worksheet on Monday in class, okay? So, excuse me, on Tuesday. So, have a great night, guys. Have a great weekend. I hope you enjoy your extra day off, and I will see you on Tuesday.